Animal Attraction was like an ode to Sergio Leone. It was a spaghetti western spoof, basically, in Xena land, and I loved it when we got the chance to do things like that. And you know, Rick had a lot of stylized shots to sell that.
Every episode of Xena has certain elements of comedy in it. Animal Attraction just had a little bit more than the normal. It was a nice change of pace for everybody, for the cast and for the crew. We basically just did a Western.
The fact that Animal Attraction became a Western, I think what the impetus for that was somebody mentioned High Noon. That was supposed to be our High Noon episode.
There was some talk early on about how far we're going to go with this Western. And we just decided, well, let's go. You know, the sound of the stirrups, it's a flat-out Western. Wardrobe was doing the chaps, and Rob Gillies and his wonderful art department stuff were there. They were doing the saloon doors and the big kind of archway that for whatever reason, every Western town has, you know, with the little bull horns and stuff that we craned up through. It's like, you know, well, let's do it. We did.
All through the piece, I would cut back to the sundial, the way in High Noon they cut to the clock on the wall and it ticking closer and closer to noon. Well, we were cutting to the sundial to do the same effect.
What really struck me watching the episode was Joe LaDuca's fantastic music. I was listening carefully, and there was stuff coming up that I'd never heard in Xena before, like banjos and harmonica. It's a real standout episode in that respect. It's kind of a million miles away from normal Xena land, but of, you know, classically strung music, but I loved it. I thought he did a wonderful job. The whole opening of Animal Attraction is set with snow on the ground, and it was shot in early winter in Auckland, but of course it never snows in Auckland, maybe once in 100 years, if that. And so there was a huge fake snow job that the special effects department did, and they did a great job, but it's one of those things where the shot keeps growing and growing and growing and getting bigger, and because we were on a steady cam and doing walking and talking shots on a wide lens, a lot of background was revealed. So I think the guys went through about 3 times as much snow as they thought they were going to have to use. But I think it works pretty well, and one of the things that actually helps that scene is that because it was early winter and we were shooting in the early morning, it was actually physically cold, so you got steamy breaths from the actors in the backlight, and that kind of sells it, because there's nothing worse than trying to do a fake snow scene in the middle of summer, and sometimes it just doesn't work.
Inconsiderate, arrogant, self-centered, smug. Maybe it wasn't Armand.
Steam room scene was a lot of fun to shoot with smoke machines to give the effect of steam. In fact, I think we even used real steam, which was piped in from a big boiler outside the studio to get the right effect in there. But it just cracks me up when I see those shots of Xena and Gabrielle in the boxes with their little heads sticking out.
I'm sure, you know, the keen fan noticed the sweatbox tops were the same things that was used as the torture device in The Debt. So, you know, just Rob Gillies, you know, reusing the old props, recycling, saving some money here and there.
The first feature film I ever shot about 15, 20 years ago was with Alison Bruce in the lead role, so it was really great to work with Alison again. And I've worked with her on and off over the years, but yeah, we've had a long career together here and there.
Oh, this is Talia. We rode together years ago.
Alison Bruce was a great pleasure to work with. It was my first and only time working with her, unfortunately. We had several discussions just about the character she played. And you know, we just talked a little bit about the character's background, because sometimes I like just kind of create a background, whether we as the audience know it or not, just gives something that the actor can kind of just base the character on.
So what makes Jarkon different from every other scum-sucking warlord?
He's my husband.
And she and Lucy got along really well too, which helped that whole friendship that they had already had, because it was a genuine friendship, you know. So it wasn't something like you get two strangers and you have to, you guys got this whole history together. They had actually worked quite a bit together, so there was already that friendship and familiarity with each other, so it's worked out well.
You know, I'm so glad all women aren't like you.
All the women I know are. We don't need a man to get along.
Emery starts it by saying women get along fine. The kind of women I know, the kind of people I hang around with, Gabrielle and Xena, get along fine without men. They are dispensable.
You all right? Hey.
I am now.
Thankfully, Jennifer Skye and Muffundo, they got along wonderfully, which was certainly a load off my mind, because, you know, there's nothing worse than when you have a little bit of, you know, tension, or, you know, they just don't get along, and they're supposed to be playing, have this relationship with each other.
I do.
And more.
I think it was Muffundo's first kissing scene, so I remember him kind of being a little nervous. I might be wrong on that, but I remember there was some genuine nerves when he was standing there with the flowers and the candy and stuff, and so I think that worked, you know, play right into the scene.
My mother was a midwife, Xena. Wake up and smell the diapers.
I think it's such a heavy issue to bring forward, Xena's pregnancy, that to do it in a drama just seems like overkill. You know, if you play it light, then the questions that will surface, and that did surface, about who the father is this child good or evil, all of those questions can kind of be fielded and played out a little longer through a next, more serious episode. You know, a drama might have to answer too many questions too fast. A comedy lets it live.
Xena's discovery to being pregnant, that was one of the elements of the script that kind of intrigued me. It's not like we didn't know it was gonna, you know, we didn't see it coming. I don't know what fan was surprised by it, but, you know, if they were, I tried to kind of just play that scene as the big, you know, we did the big kind of vertigo zoom and stuff on the moment when she realized that she was pregnant.
Considering you're pregnant.
We did the old classic Spielberg track and zoom out trick to register shock on her face. And they're quite tricky to set up, those shots. If you don't get the timing just right, they don't work. But Cameron, the camera operator, did a fantastic job on that, and we really got the rhythm of it. And so the effect basically is that the background wraps and expands, and although the person stays the same size and frame, the perspective changes from the perspective of a long shot to a close wide shot. So it's quite a natty effect if it's used very occasionally and sparingly and in the right moment. And I think that was the perfect moment for it, when he says, "You're pregnant," and she goes.
I like the way Lucy played it, in the sense of, how could this be possible? Because as she said, she's a love-free zone for a very long time.
And I mean a very long time. No one, zilch, zippo, I am a love-free zone. Therefore, it is utterly impossible that I be up the duff.
I know Up the Duff wasn't in the script. And I'm trying to even think if Love-Free Zone was. I think there was a lot of that she just went off on. And it was just great. In fact, I think she did, because I remember there was some problem or something, but I had to shoot over a double of Lucy, I think it was Polly at the time, onto the actor who was playing the doctor. And you know, we only had Polly say the scripted lines, and then Lucy came in and she's like, well, why don't I say this, and how about I just, and all of a sudden it's like, okay. But I remember kind of being a little concerned at the time, going, wow, well, we didn't shoot all of that on this, but you know, it played just perfectly fine on her, so it worked out. It was great.
Xena, can you tell them, please?
The scene where she revealed that she's pregnant to everybody, comedy kind of plays best in group shots than instead of cutting away singles. I don't know what, you know, you watch any like old classic movies, and especially when they're comedies, they just play out in big long scenes with very little cutting in between them. The big payoff to that for me was Renee's reaction to it. She was just absolutely, she couldn't say anything. So it was she to me really paid off that scene with her reaction.
I think if the fans wondered whether Gabrielle was going to be pro or con this pregnancy, and if she wouldn't wonder whether Xena was going to have the same kind of evil child she did, I think it's really true. It was going through Gabrielle's mind too. As a writer, I certainly felt that that would be something she'd question, and I think if you watch the episode, that Gabrielle plays that too. Because when Xena announces the pregnancy, Gabrielle isn't all over her like a puppy dog with jumping up and down and saying hooray. There's all this play of emotion that goes on before the friend in her steps forward, hugs her, and says congratulations. Oh yeah, I think, and I really do think it's all there in the playing of it. I think Renee did a lovely job with no words, you know?
A lot of Xena is you know, pretty serious and gets a little heavy-handed and stuff. So anytime she can just, you know, have the fun with the script and not play such a kind of heavy role, she loves it.
Oh, so little cutie.
It was just such a nice relief getting this script, I think, for everybody, because it was a big change of pace for everybody. It was pretty lighthearted. And the whole Western element just really jazzed people up, because it can get, you know, here we are back in Rome, here we are, you know, back in the huts, or, you know, and all of a sudden you just get the chaps and the dusters and the hats and little sound of the spurs, and suddenly it's just, you know, something new for everybody.